Dear future generations, welcome to our world and all of the wonders in it. You may think of our generation as the most interesting layer of fossil that ever existed. Yet there was so much more to our world than what you see in stone, than the wars and destruction you read about in books. In my home, the colors were bright and ever-changing. The people were diverse, bringing together beautiful cultures, beliefs, and traditions. There were creatures and plants of every kind. Animals that were big and small, some grand, majestic, and powerful, like rulers of their land. You would stand at the top of a mountain, and your breath would be taken away. You would swim in the waters surrounded by life, and it was fascinating. There were lakes that seemed to stretch on, almost as big as oceans, and so clear you could always see the bottom. There was water that flowed from all corners of the earth, bringing new life and hope. There were berries that would grow that were explosions of flavor in your mouth on a hot summer day. The sky was one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen in your entire life. During the day, it would be a bright blue with puffy clouds lazily floating by. At night, the stars would come out, and there would be thousands of twinkling stars. And as you stared out into the universe stared back. Nothing was more exciting than seeing the first buds of spring as the flowers unfold. There were rocks in the earth, and they would shine with vibrant colors. There were animals and people who lived in the north with the snow and ice. They were incredible, making a life for themselves. The ancient civilizations lived off the land and respected it for what it had to offer. There were so many cultures that were all so different, yet came together during times when we needed each other most. We shared ideas with each other, from how to govern our countries to music, as you felt the beating of the drums as it flowed through the ground and courses through your veins, and you are compelled to dance. And dance you do, for the world and the life you have today, for tomorrow and yesterday and all of the wonders that come with living on this planet we call home. The world was full of adventure and mysteries. On the other hand, however, it wasn't always the paradise it sounds to be. There were many large and complex issues with our world. We were running out of water, species were dying, there were many epidemics of sickness, war, poverty, and food shortage for our overpopulated planet. We were exhausting the earth of all of its resources in a constant cycle of always wanting more. We were exposed daily to more chemicals than we could count, such as formaldehyde, arsenic, perfluorinated compounds, pesticides, petroleum, mercury, lead, nitrates, phosphates, and other heavy metals, all of which led to health problems such as cancer, birth defects, developmental and reproductive issues, and many more. They existed in plastics, in beauty products, furniture, kitchenware, and even in the grass we walked on. We were surrounded by these products, and we were hurting ourselves with our improvements. The water that was so essential to human life was contaminated with human waste, bacteria, parasites, and toxins from mining and other industries. The toxins bioaccumulated, crumbling the ecosystem. As the fertilizers ran off into the water, the plants would grow exponentially and choke out all other forms of aquatic life, leaving us with less food than before. The water was not clean enough for us to swim in, drink, and certainly not enough for aquatic life to live in. The air that we breathed that used to be so fresh was filled with particulate matter and VOCs from the combustion of fossil fuels that are happening around us, in industries, cars, and homes. We release many toxins into the air, such as nitrogen oxides and sulfur dioxide, particulate matter, and carbon monoxide, which creates smog and ground-level ozone, so that we can no longer see our beautiful world. And these molecules return back to our Earth as acid rain. We become sick with various respiratory diseases due to being surrounded by this ozone, and we can still continue to produce more molecules that are harmful to ourselves and the wildlife that have the pleasure of living among us. The ozone layer in our atmosphere is depleted due to how many substances we put in the air that destroy ozone molecules. This makes our Earth heat up, and as a result, the ice melted and forced the communities who have thrived for thousands of years in the north to find a new place to live. The sea levels rose, washing the ground out from under people's feet. The world was in a state of distress and chaos, yet we realized that there are solutions to the problems that we have created. All humans share the common goal of happiness, and by working together, we can find these solutions. We have so many capable minds working across the world. There are people out there who have the potential to create and become anything. If we united as one world and had many bright minds thinking together to create ways to improve the most complex problems, we would be able to accomplish anything. I don't know what kind of world you live in now. Perhaps one that is barren and desolate, where you are plagued with war and disease. You may live on a desperate planet where everybody is trying to get enough resources and food in order for themselves to survive, where there is no natural beauty, only ruins. Perhaps you do not even live on our planet, but have moved to a different one because of all of the resources on the original have been exploited. Perhaps you may never know the feeling of being on top of the world as you stand at the peak of a mountain. The world I know may no longer exist. Perhaps you live in a world different than mine, but for other reasons. You could be standing in a world with clean air and water, with plants and animals thriving, living in harmony with the people. Perhaps someone has figured out a way to use all of the countries and environments to our advantage, and think of clever solutions to the problems that we've created. There may be crops growing in the fertile soil without the use of chemicals. Where there once stood deserts may be dense jungles, or the land is used to collect solar energy. You may use alternate energy sources instead of fossil fuels to power your homes and lives. Maybe you've created a way of breaking down plastics and removing them from the oceans, and therefore restoring all of the life there. The toxins that have surrounded the people of my world may no longer be a concern if you have found natural alternatives. There may be gardens and architecture that work in harmony, creating a balance between the natural world and our own. There may be gardens on the roofs of buildings and use plants and medicines. People may share their knowledge with each other, which creates trust and friendship rather than wars. There may be smiles, genuine happiness, and life on Earth, as the ecosystem returns to the way it used to be before my generation. Perhaps you know more beauties in your world than I know in mine.